Bim, guess what? We're live and it's time for What a Week That Was. It's the 25th of February 2023. This week we mark the first year anniversary of the Ukraine war. We also look at some stories which have been going on for the last few weeks, and in around about an hour's time we will cover the American news, which obviously is mainly about gun crime because that's what sadly America is at the moment. So if you want to listen to that bit or watch that bit, then just fast forward about an hour or so. You'll see the stars and stripes behind me. You'll know I'm in the American section then. Live broadcast every Saturday at the moment for this year, 2023, around about 8 p.m. UK time. Feel free to join in the chat, like, share and subscribe. And all being well, we can get cracking. This started off as a 40-minute thing just over a year ago, and now it's kind of unscripted and goes on for about 2 hours. But that's mainly thanks, apart from the fact that I'm getting news from more places, but also thanks to the interactions that I get from yourselves. So feel free to join in the chat room. Right then, so last Sunday, what was going on? And there was some sad news, to be honest. But also, to be honest, most of the news for a while has been sad. It just seems to be we're in that state now where everything is just awful. There was a story that had been running for a few weeks, and that was the Nicola Bulley story, where a young woman, 40 odd, 45 I think she was, just mysteriously vanished. Lots of speculation as to what was going on. Had she run away? Had she been murdered? It was a very bizarre case. Not helped by Lancashire Police and their handling of the case, which was, well, bizarre to say the least. Some of the stuff they come out with, just horrendous. The strange things about it was the fact that it was like a normal day. She went for a walk with a dog. She was seen by a few people. The dog and her mobile phone were found on the riverbank. Dog just wandering around off the lead, and the mobile phone on a bench, still logged in to a work call where she had not interacted with the people in the work call. She hadn't turned the camera on and she hadn't turned the microphone on. She was just listening stroke observing whatever the meeting was about, not specified as to what it was. And it was very peculiar. Anyway, tragically, on Sunday, a body was found about a mile down the river, and fears were that it would be confirmed as being Nicola's, although on Sunday there was no confirmation of that at all. Just that the family had been informed, that's all we'd known. But yeah, you can't imagine a family going through, or being part of a family that's going through something like that. It's just horrendous. Anyway, a body had been found, but the way this case was going, it wouldn't have surprised me at all if it had been, completely different person who'd been found, because I don't know, it's just very, very weird. It took 24 days for it to for the body to be found, if it was Nicola. Meanwhile, we were gearing up for the first anniversary of the Ukraine invasion. Many at the Munich meeting agreed more support, and there's now fears that China will supply Russia with various weapons. That was the meeting in Munich, and yeah, China is getting involved in a way that I don't think really helps the situation. Mind you, China, well, what are they like anyway? It's worrying. It is worrying. I mean, are we heading towards a world war? We don't know. We don't know. Also on Sunday, the news came across late at night that the veteran broadcaster Dickie Davies had passed away at the age of 94, which for a man is incredible. He was famous in the 70s, 80s, late 60s to mid 80s for hosting a Saturday afternoon show called World of Sport, which basically got axed when Sky and all that come along and just basically took all the sport that was free to air away. So yeah, it was an interesting programme. They had some interesting stuff on there, and I've noticed recently that some of the ITV channels have been playing the best bits of World of Sport, and some of it has been more than a little bit bizarre. But anyway, it was good. I mean, used to watch the wrestling. It's the only time I ever watched wrestling, and it was like the time of the Big Daddy and Giant A-Stacks and all that kind of thing. It was they were fun times then. That's when sport was more innocent than what it is these days. It's all about the money now, isn't it? And well, that's it. It's just about the money. Anyway, that was Saturday, Sunday, and Monday came along as it always does, and we had a bit of a shock because President Biden went to Ukraine. He was in Kyiv. He met up with Vladimir Zelensky. Vladimir Zelensky? Not Vladimir Zelensky. Zelensky, and he said in a speech that Russia aims to wipe Ukraine off the map. Putin's war of conquest is abuse, and we do think that war crimes have been committed. No poo Sherlock. Meanwhile, in the UK, there was a press conference held Monday evening where it was confirmed that the body that had been found was that of Nicola Bulley, and the family had a statement read out where they publicly criticised Sky News and ITV News, as well as idiots from TikTok who went there and just, you know, went peeking through windows and banging on doors and just trying to, you know, be really cool and solve the case. But in fact, they were just hindering and just causing more distress. But apparently, according to the family statements, and the police read it out, so there must be a strong element of truth in it, that after the body had been found, and before it was announced it was Nicola Bulley, Sky News and ITV News directly contacted the family to find out what was going on. Absolutely horrendous. And yeah, hopefully they will be fined lots of money from Ofcom and maybe even lose their licence, because you can't do that kind of thing. It's absolutely shocking. Turkey and Syria had a third earthquake. This one was 6.3, although it's now been downgraded to 6.2, and it was in the area, exact same area that the original earthquake was. Therefore, buildings that had been weakened, many of them came down. Thankfully, the majority of them were empty because they'd been weakened. People had moved out, but a handful of people did lose their lives, and many people were injured on this extra earthquake. And it's like, you know, when will the planet just let people live? It's just shocking. Meanwhile, junior doctors voted to strike next month. It was announced. So yeah, we've got junior doctors going out, and basically junior doctors are doctors who earn anything from £29,000 a year to £58,000 a year, because you're a junior doctor for quite a long while before you become a consultant. So yeah, it's quite worrying that they are going to go on strike, and it's going to affect the emergency care as well, apparently. So again, hopefully something will get sorted out. Now, we don't get a lot of mass shootings in the UK, but this gentleman here, I'm not naming him because he's a murderer, did a mass shooting rampage in the south of England, where he shot his mother and then shot 3 random people, including a small girl and her father, before killing himself. It turns out that looking back on his records, he shouldn't have had a gun in the first place. He legally owned the gun, despite the restrictions that we put on people having a gun. But he had the gun taken off him, but then given back to him only a few weeks before he went on a rampage, killing all these people and himself. So the police are currently being investigated into what the hell was going on. But like I say, that was 3 years ago. Hi Angela, hope you're well. I mean, in America, you get 3 a day, don't you? That's the terrible thing. Talking of America, though, good thing. In America, there's early success being made in gaining movement back into limbs which have been damaged by someone having a stroke. They haven't gone into much detail what it's about, but apparently it works on mice, which always worries me somewhat. Same old, Angela. But yeah, that's how it goes. Silence is around somewhere. Meanwhile, Roald Dahl, his books are being censored. So Augustus Gloop, instead of being called fat, is just going to be called enormous because it offends people, apparently. But it's not. It's the publishers who've decided to do this. It's not, like people have gone up to him and said, look, you know to sort this out, blah, 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 blah. And there's not this, mass signage of stuff of people who are completely brain dead saying that we need to protect our children from, reading something that might offend them. They hear a lot worse in the playground, and changing Roald Dahl books is not going to alter that fact. I just can't see the point of it. And like I said last week, we were on about scientists who said that they shouldn't call, that scientists should not call species male or female, but egg producers and sperm producers, which led me to think that, we go down the route of Shakespeare. Are we going to have sperm producer and egg producer instead of Romeo and Juliet? Are we going to have, instead of King Lear, unelected dominant sperm maker? I don't know. It just baffles me what is going on, and I think this woke madness has got to stop. Yes, okay, we've gone too far now, and we hadn't gone far enough before, but we just seem to be carrying on this trajectory, and it's just going to destroy society. I watched an episode recently of On the Buses. Basically, middle-aged man trying to get his leg over on this supposedly young, fit blonde. She wasn't that young, but that was a joke, and everyone was like, well, hey, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and all that kind of stuff. And his mum's like, I don't want you doing that in here, and all that kind of stuff. And it was hilarious. Yeah, we don't need stuff like that. Love thy neighbour. Again, even though at the end of Love Thy Neighbour, each episode, it was the white sperm maker who looked stupid, and the black sperm maker always looked like he gained the moral ground, and that was a comedy. A lot of people didn't see it like that. They just saw it as them both calling each other racist names, but it was to show the stupidity of the white, I'm not allowed to say man, you see, so I'm saying sperm producer, from his actions against the black sperm producer, and his attitude towards him always ended up backfiring on him and making him look the idiot. And yeah, we don't want to go back to those kind of days, but surely to God, we need to stop this now. We've made up so much ground. Surely enough is enough. And don't call me Shirley. Yeah, you were waiting for that one, weren't you? So that was Monday. But then after Monday, we normally get Tuesday. And what happened on Tuesday? Well, President Biden had left Ukraine. He was only there for a couple of hours, and he went to Poland, where he gave another speech. Ukraine will remain free, and meanwhile, at the same time as Biden, well, a bit earlier to be fair, as Biden was doing his big speech, Putin did a speech as well, and basically blamed the war on the West and the regime in Ukraine, because yeah, we wanted him to invade us and well, invade Ukraine and cause a war, didn't we? So it's our fault. I mean, I'll be stupid or something. So yeah, Putin, oh, he's such a nice guy. Meanwhile, nurses suspend their actions. So junior doctors have said they're going on strike, but nurses have said they are suspending strikes that were planned as new talks with the government over pay, etc., actually begin. So a bit of good news on the old strike front, a bit of bad news on the old tomato front. Tomatoes and other fresh fruit run out due to severe weather conditions in Spain and Morocco, very much like it was, oh God, a good few years ago now, when there was no lettuces because of snow and ice in Spain and those areas, because obviously it gets warmer down there earlier because they're nearer the equator. So all our fruit and veg that's fresh, that we normally grow here but we can't do till later in the year, comes from Spain and Morocco, so North Africa, Southern Europe and that kind of thing. But they are currently having one of the worst winters they've ever had. Now, stores in Europe do seem to have the fruit and veg. However, you've got to remember that the prices have gone up that much, and basically Tesco and all that could have the fruit and veg, but they're not having it because the prices have gone up, because there is so much demand for such little product. A bit like petrol and diesel. So you either have empty shelves or you're paying £6 for a tomato. I mean, obviously not £6 for a tomato, but you get the idea. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens over the next few weeks. But obviously a lot of the crops have been destroyed, so they won't be coming at all. But they've said, 3 or 4 weeks and things should be back to normal. But I mean, what is normal these days? Andrew Tate, the plonker off the internet, he's been remanded again for another 30 days in a Romanian court, whilst they look into charges of rape and various other vile criminal activities. Least of which, in my opinion, is the crap that he comes out with on his broadcasts on the internet. Absolutely shocking human being. Allegedly. I'm sure he's lovely when you get to know him. Oh, apparently I'm broadcasting live on YouTube. Good. I didn't want to miss myself. What else is going on? Oh yeah, Wednesday came along. Putin, he has a defiant speech in a football stadium, the biggest football stadium in Russia, saying it's a just war and they are defending, Russia is defending itself, which seems reasonable and honest if you're a gullible Russian citizen, of which sadly there seem to be many. Meanwhile, South Africa have kind of joined in all this, and South Africa are doing some army manoeuvres with Russia and China, and you're like, whoa, I thought South Africa was like a neutral country. It's absolutely scary. I mean, South Africa is no threat to anyone, but it seems weird that they've kind of jumped into bed with the people that most countries basically are telling people not to get involved with, which is China and Russia. But there you go then, South Africa, what can you do? Meanwhile, in Northern Ireland, something that hasn't happened for a long while, a off-duty police officer was shot in Omagh. Condition is critical, and as we speak now, still critical as well. He was shot after doing some voluntary football training for an under-14 team, and he was shot multiple times with his son stood next to him. Absolutely horrendous, and takes us back to the 1980s and whatever. It's just awful. Police officer at this point was unnamed. Oh, Miss Begin. She's lost another attempt to move back to the United Kingdom. Basic story is that when she was 15, her and two friends, who have since died, left the United Kingdom and went to join the not IS, it was the other ones, wasn't it? But anyway, she joined them. She got married off. She had a couple of children who sadly died, and then the army that she was with got defeated. The gang of men that she was with got defeated, so she decided to come back to Britain. And she wasn't allowed entry. She was interviewed at the time. She'd be about 17, 18 at the time. And the thing that got me was, I got it, she was 15 when she left, therefore a child, didn't know what she was doing. But she come across as arrogant and having no idea of what she'd done wrong, and didn't express any sorrow for what she'd done. And I'm like, do we really want someone like this back in our country? So I was with the government at the time, saying, no, you can stay where you are. Next time she appears, she's dressed like a teenager from the United Kingdom or Italy or something like that. She's obviously thought, right, if I change my appearance, people will think I'm a different person. But it's not worked. Judicial have looked into it, lots of courts and all that kind of thing. And they all say that she could cause a threat to national security. I'm not sure how exactly, but I would feel uncomfortable if she moved, like 4 doors away from me, or even in the same town as me. I would think, possibly wrongly, what's she getting up to? It's it's a rock and a hard place. There's no right answer to that at all. Meanwhile, Tesco limits the amount of purchases of fresh food, i.e. tomatoes, cucumbers and that kind of thing. But that's assuming you can find any on the shelves. Not that I buy a lot of tomatoes or anything, but it's slightly worrying. Meanwhile, United Kingdom and Europe are still chatting away and having meetings about the Northern Ireland Protocol. If you remember last week, we reported that Rishi Sunak had gone over to Northern Ireland late on a Friday to have talks. Apparently talks are still ongoing, and there may be a resolution at some point in the near future for the Northern Ireland Protocol, which we'll go into at the time. The steel industry is on a knife edge, apparently, and very dangerously, the government are not actually doing anything to help. I fear that we need a steel industry in the country. It doesn't have to be a big steel industry, but we need to be able to make our own steel rather than relying, of all places, China. I can't understand how it's cheaper to make steel in China and then ship it halfway around the world. That makes no sense at all. So yeah, I would be 100% trying to make our steel industry bigger, stronger and better, so we're not reliant on China, because when sanctions come along, and let's be honest, they're on the way, where are we going to get our steel from if all our steel factories have shut down? We won't be able to build anything, we won't be able to do anything, we'll absolutely be knackered. So yeah, fingers crossed it does sort itself out, but again, I'm not breath holding, because that's not something you should do. There will be shop news soon, DC. Thursday. What happened on Thursday? Well, that was only a couple of days ago. To be fair, the news has been dominated by, rightly so, the anniversary of Ukraine. And no different on Thursday. The UN passed a resolution demanding that Russia withdraw unconditionally from all areas illegally taken from Ukraine. Now, whether or not that includes Crimea, I'm not sure, but if it says all areas illegally taken, I would say Crimea, because Crimea was illegally taken and needs to be brought back. There were 3 arrests in the shooting of this police officer, still critically ill, life-changing injuries, but yeah, 3 arrests have been made. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer, God, this guy's so dull. He would come to Manchester and he had a speech where he come up with 5 missions for a better Britain, which is great. Economic growth, we're going to have the largest economic growth of any G7 country within their first 5 years of being in government. Okay. He's also going to sort out the NHS, education, justice, and he's going to do this clean energy thing he's on about, which is GB News. Now, everything he's mentioned costs lots and lots of money. Where's the money coming from? Well, we're going to tax these people who don't pay taxes in the United Kingdom, who earn money abroad but live in the United Kingdom. You're like, right, okay then. How many times are you planning on spending this money? Ah, yeah, but we get money from the extra taxes that we give on the profits of the big energy companies. Yeah, okay, but that's still not enough to do what you want to do. This guy is talking twaddle, and I can't believe that he's probably going to be our next Prime Minister. Literally, it is terrifying me. I mean, don't get me wrong, Rishi Sunak, he's better than the previous few we've had, but he's no brain box either. I thought he was going to be better than he is. But I've no idea what the policies are that Labour are. I'm a floating voter. I've voted for everyone. I voted for the Tories, I voted for Labour, I voted for Lib Dems, I voted for UKIP, I voted for the Green Party, I voted for Independents. I voted for everyone. I vote on what I think they've got that will make either local life or the government's life better. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't got a clue what he's about, other than just boring the pants off me. He's such a annoying person. It's 5 missions for Britain. Now, someone looked up missions, and apparently missions are not promises. So he's not promising he can do these things. It's not a pledge. It's not a part of his actual selling point when the general election arrives. It's a mission. So a mission is something that you intend to do if you can, but you can't promise you're going to do it. Like, for example, my mission probably tomorrow is to make this Koenigsegg's Lego car in less than an hour. That's my mission, but I know it's going to take 2 hours, and that's if I don't throw the pieces across the room because it's driving me mad. So I don't understand what was the point of saying that. But he's got to fix the fundamentals and restore pride and purpose, while also pledging to make Britain #1 for economic growth in the G7, building an NHS fit for the future. He's also said as well that he's not against private companies taking on some of the work that the NHS does. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work, because if it's cheaper to get a company that's there to make money, if it's cheaper for a government to pay a company who makes money to do anything, collect the rubbish, nurses do tests for, hospital tests, all that kind of thing. If it's going to be cheaper, then how can it be better for us? Because you're spending less money, but this company's got to take profit out of the money that you're paying it. So if you're paying it less money than what you were paying before you had this private company in it, then surely to God, as we found out with other things like the prison service, transportation and stuff like that, when that first started, absolute nightmare, then you're just making things worse, not better, because there's less money to actually spend on the actual thing that you're paying them to do, because you're paying them less than you do, than what you pay for it. They're taking out a profit, so whatever's left from that, from the 2 deductions, that's all they've got left to actually do the service that you're paying them to do. So it's going to be worse. So why is Keir Starmer now saying that privatising some parts of the NHS, or not privatising, having some companies do work that some of the NHS do, is value for money? It's not value for money. And again, baffles me how he thinks that we can't see that. Keir Starmer. He should get back in his box and give his head a wobble, I think. There was some sad news as well. John Motson, the commentator, very famous commentator, famous for his, he hasn't got one on there, but sheepskin jacket, and covered over 2,000 football matches for the BBC, including multiple World Cups, etc. Sadly passed away at the age of 77, and was described as the voice of football. Even I don't watch football, but I knew when John Motson was commentating. If I was watching the news and there was a goal somewhere, I knew it was John Motson. Just like I know it's Jonathan, whatever he's called, who used to do Robot Wars when he first come along. He does a lot of football, so I recognise his voice as well. I don't really recognise anyone else's, but I only recognise it from Robot Wars. I don't recognise it from football because I don't watch football. I mean, who does? Who does watch football? What's the point of watching football? Anyway, that was Thursday. Like I say, the news pretty much dominated by one thing. We've got plenty of other news to cover in other areas shortly. But Friday was the actual first anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, and many countries around the world, including France here, lit up monuments and buildings in the Ukrainian flag to show support, as well as obviously promising weapons and all that. The first Leopard tanks from Poland actually made it into Ukraine as well. So they're now getting some tanks which are considerably better than the tanks they had, and what they've done with the tanks they've had is quite impressive. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Then you've got 3 hopefuls for the SNP leadership First Minister job. The newest woman, which I think is the one on the right, I think she's one of the last ones to go into it. She's madder than Nicola Sturgeon. I mean, completely bonkers, off her head, complete nutter. The other lady on the other side, I might have got these the wrong way around. I've never seen them before up to this week, so just bear with us. She said she wouldn't have voted for same-sex marriage if she had been in Parliament when the vote went ahead, because of her religious beliefs. And the guy in the middle, he too has come out with some stuff that you're thinking, whoa, what's going on there? But by far and away, the worst one is the lady who's just joined, who basically said that on the first day she's First Minister, she's going to talk to the UK government and demand a referendum. If we don't get one, she's then going to use the general election in 18 months' time or whenever it is, as a referendum. And if she does get a majority of seats, SNP seats, she will then start the process of removing Scotland from the United Kingdom. But Nicola Sturgeon's realised, I think, eventually that she can't do that. Either that or there's a skeleton about to come out of her closet, which is something I did think last week when she resigned, or the week before, whenever it was. But it is weird that we've got this problem with the Northern Ireland Protocol and all that kind of thing. And you're like, we've got a land border across the United Kingdom. So does Scotland want independence, but they want that land border to remain free for people to travel to and from? And I'd be like, no, we're putting a hard border there. If you want to bring your whiskey down to us, then you're going to have to come through customs. And if you want Greg's pies, or whatever, you're going to have to sort customs out for that. Plus, where's the money coming from? Scotland is not the richest country in the world. I mean, the oil and gas that we are currently relying on has certainly dwindled and diminished and not being used as much. And that was where the main money came from. Scotland was once a rich country. To be fair, the United Kingdom took most of that money off them. But yeah, it's just a dangerous game she's playing, and I am worried for the future of Scotland if she gets in. And it might be a case of bring back Nicola Sturgeon. After all, she wasn't that bad. And then we've got today. Like I say, it's a quiet week for news today. Saturday, which is today. Shocking but not unsurprising statistic came to light. There are now well over 50,000 dead from the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, but I reckon you can double that because you've got so many villages, particularly in Syria, that are in the middle of nowhere that no one's got to yet, where there could be tens or if not hundreds of people dead in each village that haven't been reported and will never be reported because we don't know they're there. So yeah, I mean, it's Mother Nature, there's not a lot you can do, but there's more rumours that building construction and the government have colluded in ignoring the rules that the government set to make the buildings safer for the people to live in. And if that is the case, then the government needs to go. All the builders or contractors and all that need to go to prison, and unfortunately you need to rebuild Turkey. Apparently some places they've already started rebuilding. Meanwhile, many people in Northern Ireland were protesting against what was now being claimed as the new IRA, who did the shooting allegedly, although they've not admitted to it yet, of the DCI in Omagh. And you had multiple parties, Sinn Féin, the DUP, the British government, police, all stood in a line saying, you know, we are all united against any violence. And you're like, yep, we are indeed. We are indeed. Hi Marty Hopkirk, hope you're good as well. Then we go to, believe it or not, Los Angeles and Hollywood. Now, I play a lot of Grand Theft Auto, as you may or may not be aware. And at Christmas time, they always have snow there. And you're like, they can't have snow there because it's Los Angeles and it's Hollywood and they don't have snow there. So why they? Well, yeah, every 30 years or so, they've had snows. They've got blizzards, they've got severe temperature concerns, and they've got deep snow in Hollywood and the surrounding area. You know, people keep saying that global warming isn't a thing. I'm not so sure. And as a final hurrah for the UK weather, the Irish government and the British government and European leaders are still discussing the Northern Ireland Protocol, but the Irish Taoiseach has said that he thinks there is a close, well, they are very close to an agreement for the Northern Ireland Protocol, which could be very, very good news indeed. Fingers crossed that is going to be something that actually happens, because it'd be sad if it wasn't. So that was it for UK news, which 38 minutes. That's one of the quickest we've done that. But like I said, there's a lot of news to do with Ukraine. Other news I've kind of scraped from other countries. So we're going to go down the route now of the United States. So, la 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 la, America, gun crime in America. Sadly, considerable amount of gun crime in America again. I am Marty, by the way. People have disappeared off the top of my screen now, but hello everyone who's watching at the moment. We're about to cover the Americans. What have they been up to? Well, 4 dead, including 2 kids, in an apparent murder-suicide in New Jersey. Again, you can't imagine what goes on. What the hell? You can't imagine what goes on in people's houses and what goes on behind closed doors and that kind of thing. But this is horrendous. A New Jersey man is suspected of fatally shooting his wife and 2 kids on Sunday before turning the gun on himself. But yeah, the children were aged just 8 and 14. One of the children initially survived being shot but was later pronounced dead at the hospital in Newark. Absolutely horrendous thoughts with family and friends. Suspect shoots Temple University cop and then tries to rob him. I mean, we've said this many times before, but I mean, America, sort your gun laws out. An 18-year-old man was arrested on Sunday in the fatal shooting of a Temple University cop. The heinous killer tried to rob the tragic officer as he lay dying on the ground. I don't understand how people can get hold of guns so easily in America when they're not suitable to have guns. It's just terrifying. Gunman Miles Pfeiffer, who was taken into custody by authorities using the fallen officer's handcuffs, went on to coolly commit a nearby carjacking in Philadelphia after the shooting. Shocking and scary, and yeah, the Americans can't see what we can see. Well, there are a few now actually voicing their opinion, but I mean the majority of Americans, no, we've got to have guns, we've got to have guns. Otherwise, how are we going to stop the gun crime? Well, get rid of the guns. That's how you get rid of the gun crime. Get rid of the fucking guns, and gun crime goes down. Say we had a mass shooting in the United Kingdom 3 years ago, and that was the last one we've had. Now you might say, well, United Kingdom, there's not that many people here. Okay then, fair enough. I reckon there's been more mass shootings in every single state in America individually than what there has in the United Kingdom in the last 3 years. And to be fair, you'd probably say 6 years, because I can't even remember when the last mass shooting was. The last mass shooting was 3 years ago, but how long before that the other mass shooting was? And you're not telling me there's states, any states in America, where there's been no mass shooting for longer than 5 or 6 years. No, that's the problem. A warning about the thing which just covered, which was the snow and ice in Hollywood. A significant coast-to-coast US storm to impact millions this week with snow, ice and flooding. See, the problem is when the snow and ice melts, you then get flooding. I say obviously, but some people say, where does all the snow go? The Fox Forecast Centre is tracking a significant long-duration coast-to-coast storm that will be sweeping across America this week, bringing heavy snow, ice, flooding, rain and severe weather to millions of Americans. The winter weather is expected to start Monday in the west and quickly spread across the country, producing hazardous travel on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and beyond for many communities. It's got to be said, when they have weather in America, they have weather. 3 teen girls, including one who was pregnant, and a gunman dead in Texas shooting. Now, it does seem Texas has more reported shootings than other states by a huge amount. But yeah, it's kind of scary. Why's Bruce Willis popped up then? What's going on there? What's going on with Bruce Willis? I was just wondering why Bruce Willis has showed up on a feed that I wasn't expecting. Let's see. Oh, it might have been one from a few days ago. So I don't go on this thing very often. My mouse just went over it. Oh, Bruce Willis's health condition worsens. Oh dear, that's not good. That is breaking news. Again, thoughts with family and friends of Bruce Willis. We mentioned last week that he'd been diagnosed with dementia. But if they've already said that his condition's worsened, then I fear that he's got more severe symptoms than we first anticipated. So yeah, sad news indeed. Meanwhile, in Texas, authorities say 3 teenage girls, including one who was pregnant, were fatally shot by a man who also sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl who later escaped, and then he fatally shot himself. The 3 girls killed were 19, 14 and 13. It's just awful. A woman dies after plummeting from Disneyland structure in California, and you're like, what, the castle? There's a picture of the castle. It was a car park. A woman died after she fell from a Disneyland parking structure, car park, in California on Saturday evening, authorities said. No details as to why the woman fell, and again, thoughts with family and friends, but yeah, not a good story. 4-foot alligator hauled from Brooklyn's Prospect Park Lake. A lethargic, possibly cold-shocked 4-foot long alligator was hauled from Brooklyn's Prospect Park Lake on Sunday morning after a stunned passerby spotted it floating in the water. It's totally unexpected, said Joseph Pielu, Vice President of District Council 27, which employs the city park workers, who ended up pulling the gator out of the water. Yeah, but they reckon there's gators in the sewer system of New York. Whether there is or not, I don't know. But due to the fact that people bought them as pets when they were like that big, and then when they get back that big, they flush them down. I don't know how you flush a gator that big down, but anyway, they end up in the sewers. But I don't. Yeah, was that just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story? I don't know. Russia likely deploying decoy balloons over Ukraine in a new tactic. Russia is likely deploying balloons over Ukraine to act as decoys to gather information about the country's defence systems and to force the military to use up precious missiles to shoot them down. Yeah, does sound like Russia. US trying to demonise Moscow with Ukraine accusations, says Russia. Now, I've always said you've got to take, when there's a war on, particularly Cold War or real war, either side's news and reporting of it with a pinch of salt. However, in Russia's case, and if China gets involved as well, I would say with a truckload of salt. So, although I don't believe everything that we see or hear on the news and reported and whatever about, you know, the successes of Ukrainians, I do believe that that's more honest than the garbage that the Russians are being given by their state media. Vice President Harris, her declaration that Russia is committing crimes against humanity is an attempt to demonise Moscow, Russia's ambassador to the US said, as he blamed America for fueling the nearly year-long crisis. We consider such insinuations as an attempt, unprecedented in terms of its cynicism, to demonise Russia in the course of a hybrid war unleashed against us. Yeah, that's right, because the war was unleashed against Russia when Russia invaded Ukraine illegally. Falco, Amadeus, 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 oh, Amadeus, come and rock me, Amadeus. Vienna calling. No, not that Falco, sadly passed away. It's not Falco anyway, it's Flacco. But he's the escaped New York City owl. The zoo have said that he can stay in the wild. Now, we reported last week that they were surprised that he managed to catch his own food. Well, he's an owl. They know what to do, even though they kept him in a cage. I'm pretty sure he would have caught mice and rats in his cage that you didn't see. Because I'm pretty sure that the zoo is full of mice and rats, because everywhere is full of rats and mice and stuff. That's just the way of the world. No matter where you are, you're never more than 20 foot away from a rat. Or a mouse. Or both. Maybe they're friends. Maybe it's one of them weird relationships, you know. Different species getting on together. Flacco the owl can remain in the wild thanks to his killer instincts. Central Park Zoo officials say the evasive, because they can't catch him, let's be honest, eagle owl, who captured New Yorkers' hearts when he flew his vandalised zoo coop more than 2 weeks ago, has been coughing up enough fur and bones from the rats he's caught to prove he can fend for himself, even after being in captivity. We are going to continue monitoring Flacco and his activities to be prepared to resume recovery efforts if he shows any malnourishment or illness. But yeah, maybe this is a thing for zoos. Just let your animals live a life that they should be living, not in a cage. What was that? Cat went, okay, you're not in a cage, you're in a house, and I'll let you out regular as well. Christian Atsu's body flown to Ghana for burial. The former World Cup star was being flown back to his native Ghana from Turkey after passing away as one of the many victims in the horrendous earthquakes that struck Turkey a couple of weeks ago. A stranger yanks man off. I was like, what? But no, it's a New York City train, and then punches him. A man was dragged off a subway train and punched multiple times in the face by a stranger in Manhattan over the weekend. The 26-year-old victim was on a southbound number 4 train at 7:45 a.m. when a stranger walked up to him and grabbed him by the jacket collar and said, "What are you looking at?" The suspect asked "What are you looking at?" The suspect asked. When the train entered the Brooklyn Bridge City Hall subway station, the stranger dragged the victim off to the platform floor and beat him up. Welcome to America. This didn't get shot. North Korea confirms it tested intercontinental ballistic missiles and touts fatal nuclear counterattack. North Korea said on Sunday it had fired Hwasong 15 intercontinental ballistic missile the day before in a sudden launching drill that confirmed its readiness for mobile and mighty counterattack against hostile forces. So basically, they were practicing if someone was sending missiles to them, if they could get them sent up quick enough. And obviously they could. LA Auxiliary Bishop David O'Connell shot dead, described as a peacemaker. A prominent LA Catholic official who served the community for over 4 decades was fatally shot on Saturday in a California suburb. David O'Connell, the auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, was found inside a Hacienda Heights home with a severe gunshot wound to his upper torso and pronounced dead. Yeah, even vicars and priests and whatever can't get away from it. Temple University police officer shot and killed trying to stop a carjacking. A Temple University police officer was shot and killed whilst trying to stop a carjacking near the school's Philadelphia campus on Saturday night. The officer who was on duty at the time was shot in the head near 18th Street and Montgomery Avenue around 7 p.m. America. Seriously. Secret Service spokesman tells Jimmy Carter agency, "We'll be forever by your side." President Jimmy Carter was sent tribute Saturday as it was revealed that he would enter home hospice care, basically end of life. He's well into his 90s though, and I thought he was a decent president, because I remember saying when he was no longer president, oh, that's a shame, he seemed to be alright, and I got a scornful comment from my stepfather saying, "You don't know what you're talking about, lad." Oh, okay then, because I didn't, I was only a kid. But yeah, I thought he was like, because he's always smiling and waving. Young mum killed in front of kids after parking lot dispute on Valentine's Day. 26-year-old mother was shot and killed in front of her young children outside of a South Carolina grocery store on Valentine's Day. She had been shopping and she had a verbal dispute with a complete stranger while packing groceries into her car. Yeah, America. I might do one of these one week where I don't do any gun crime or anything that mentions guns, and there'll be like 4 things coming up instead of 100. Mother charged with after another 6-year-old brings a gun to the VA school. A mother of a 6-year-old has been charged by Norfolk, Virginia police after school staff discovered her child brought in a handgun to school, the latest in a shocking spate of young children managing to sneak firearms into class. Officers responded to a call from Little Creek Elementary School on Friday that a student had a weapon, police said. School staff turned over the handgun to the officers when they arrived and no one was injured. Yeah, she should be charged. Absolutely 100%. Over 500,000 people left California in 2 years. Must have known the snow was coming. Over 500,000 Californians left the state in the 2 years after the pandemic began due to rising house costs and crowded, crime-filled cities, according to a report. Between April 2020 and July 22, the number of those leaving California surpassed the number of people moving in by more than 700,000. Unaffordable housing, long commute times, crowds, crime and pollution in urban areas, and also lots of homelessness as well. So basically, it's not as nice as it once was. I wouldn't know, never been. Georgia teen steals gun from a Dunkin' customer, shoots him to death in the parking lot. A 17-year-old male was arrested on Friday and charged with murder for allegedly stealing a gun from a Dunkin' customer and Decatur before shooting and killing him. America? That guy hadn't had a gun, he would still be alive. Hashtag just saying. Woman waves loaded handgun at McDonald's drive-thru after free cookie incident. Police in Florida say a woman acted irate at McDonald's drive-thru after not getting a free cookie she believed she was owed. The woman ended up allegedly injuring an employee. America. It's every other story. Templeton University police officer shooting suspect captured using fallen officer's handcuffs. We've already said that, but it's worth reiterating. A Memphis shooting leaves 11 victims. Suspect remains at large. Memphis police said a shooting by a live lounge left 11 victims, one of whom was pronounced dead, and another 5 who are in critical condition. The suspect remains at large. Remember, this is normal in America. This is every day in America. I mean, this is more than one a day in America. A Tesla driver killed after barreling into a ladder truck, blocking accident scene on the California freeway. The driver of a Tesla Model S was killed after the car ploughed into a fire truck that was parked in California highway to shield first responders who were clearing a separate incident. So basically, they parked a big red fire engine across the road, and this Tesla car drove straight into the side of it, killing the driver. Now, unknown whether or not the Tesla was being driven by the driver or whether or not the Tesla was on automatic pilot kind of driving and therefore would not expect something to be across the road. But this is why I'm more than wary of self-driving cars, because I don't think it's a good thing at all. Biden admin mulls move to open pathways to green cards for temporary agricultural and seasonal migrant workers. So now, I keep saying to people, they're like, oh, this country's shit. Oh, it's so bad. We can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do the other. And I'm like, yeah, it's not just here, it's all over the world. It literally is all over the world. There's a migrant crisis in America where people are illegally going into the country from now, as well as Mexico, from Canada. And we've got the same kind of migrant crisis over the channel and through the tunnel and all that kind of thing. But they've got shortages of people who go in to do seasonal work, i.e. pick fruit, vegetables, that kind of thing. Stuff they want to do, they're prepared to do, and Biden's saying now that he's going to possibly make it easier for people to get a green card to work temporarily in the United States. And I've said, since we've regained control of our borders completely, then why is it impossible for us to have these people come in, do the vegetable picking and stuff that they've done for years, and then afterwards they go home again, because that's what they do. That's their life. They come here, they earn a bit of money doing jobs that Brits are not arse, don't want to do. And then when it's done, because it's only seasonal, it's only for a couple of months, few months, they fly back home and then they live off that money for a year or so, and then they come back and do it all again. I don't see the problem with that at all. I have a completely different opinion on people coming on boats and in the back of lorries and things like that. But people who are genuinely coming here to work, help the country, help the economy, and agree and do go back from whence they came, it's not a bad thing. And America now are beginning to think the same thing. I can only imagine that President Biden and his advisors watch this program or listen to the podcast. Pennsylvania University student government pays transgender students to change their names. The Penn State University student government voted to pay for transgender students to legally change their name, according to a student newspaper. So it costs money to change your name. So if you're a trans, then it's fine, because if you go to Pennsylvania University, they will pay all the costs for you. Now, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm a bit perplexed. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Houston man suffered mental episode, struck and killed by an 18-wheeler while dancing in the street. I mean, it's almost amusing if it wasn't so tragic. Texas police said that a man having a mental episode was struck and killed by an 18-wheeler while he was dancing in the middle of the street on Friday night. Surely the truck driver would have seen someone dancing in the middle of a street. That's my main argument on that one. Otherwise, should be driving a truck. Temple University police officer killed in line of duty near Philadelphia campus. Governor says we've already covered that one, haven't we? Yep, we've already covered that one. So we'll move on. A drunk man who brought shotgun into Oregon bar tackled beaten with his own gun by patrons. Oregon police said an intoxicated man who entered a bar with a shotgun was tackled and disarmed by quick-thinking patrons who hit him in the face with his own gun. Good work. You see, now if he didn't have a gun, he wouldn't have a broken nose and 2 black eyes now, would he? To be fair, he was lucky that the people in the bar just didn't shoot him. Oakland Airport, 50,000 in Bay Area lose power due to fire. A power substation temporarily caused outages at the Oakfield International Airport and left 50,000 customers around the East San Francisco Bay Area without electricity on Sunday. There's been a spate of fires in electrical substations in America recently. I mean, there might have been for years, just I've only covered them fairly recently. 5 shots, including child, during New Orleans Bacchus Parade. 5 people, including a child, were shot when a gunman opened fire during the Krewe of Bacchus Parade in New Orleans on Sunday, 2 days before hundreds of revelers will descend to the city to celebrate Mardi Gras. Shots rang out around 9:30 p.m. as the parade was underway. 3 men, a woman and a young girl were each struck by bullets. All 5 should recover, but again, needless. Why do people have guns in America? New Jersey water park at American Dream Mall closes after helicopter display injures 4. So there's a really badly drawn arrow there pointing at this at the bottom of a helicopter, which apparently fell down. 4 people were injured when a decorative helicopter figurine came crashing down into the pool full of children inside New Jersey's American Dream Mall on Sunday. 1 person was rushed to the hospital and 3 others were treated on the scene after a large display came crashing down from the ceiling of the DreamWorks water park inside East Rutherford around 3 p.m. So if you go to a pool, always look up, make sure you're not underneath anything that's hanging down. You can take that any way you want. Canadian teacher with size Z breasts, Kayla Lemieux, claims they are real and denies dressing like a man outside the school. The Canadian high school teacher who goes to work wearing a size Z prosthetic breasts incredibly claimed they're not fake and denied being the person photographed leaving home without them, but acknowledged she can't prove it. I'm not wearing pathetic breasts, these are real, she told the newspaper during an exclusive interview. Yeah, how do you sleep then if they're real? I mean, literally. If you roll over, you just keep going. Perpetual motion. You could strap your legs to a dynamo. You could just make electricity for the whole time. Just spinning around. Brilliant. Missouri teacher finds loaded gun in 5-year-old's bag. I think we've already done that one as well. Different wording, but same story as far as I can make out. Where are we up to now? There we go. New Orleans man stopped from carrying AR and .163 rounds of ammunition into flight. Agents at the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport stopped a man from carrying a loaded AR rifle with 163 rounds of ammunition onto a plane. You see, yeah, I thought they'd just wave him through, to be honest. There must be some laws. Illinois Hobby Club fears its balloon was shot down by the United States Air Force. A lost Pico balloon belonging to an Illinois-based hobbyist club has emerged as a possible candidate for one of the 3 mysterious objects shot down by the US. Yeah, and one of them missed, didn't it? Those missiles cost $400,000 each or thereabouts. Record numbers of guns seized at US airports. Well, we know that because we've just done a story about that. US flyers were caught packing heat at recorded levels last year, the Transportation Secretary Administration said on Monday. Agents seized 6,542 guns, almost all of which were loaded at the nation's airports in 2022, an average of 18 a day, the highest ever recorded, the agency said. What we see out of checkpoints really reflects what we're seeing in society, and in society there are more people carrying firearms nowadays. Yes, exactly. We know that because of all the gun crime that we have to cover. White House gives Moscow heads up about Biden's Ukraine visit. That was one thing that was a bit worrying to a degree, is the fact that President Biden went into a war zone i.e. Kyiv, and it's within range of Putin's missiles. So Putin could have fired a missile and killed the President of the United States. But no fear. The White House confirmed that they had given Russia advance notice about President Biden's surprise visit to Ukraine on Monday to avoid heightening tensions between the two nuclear powers. We did notify the Russians that President Biden would be travelling to Kyiv. We did so some hours before his departure for deconfliction of purposes. So basically, yeah, they said, look, you don't want to escalate this anymore, so make sure that you don't fire anything anywhere near Kyiv whilst the president is there. Otherwise, it's World War III. Salman Rushdie calls changes to Roald Dahl's book absurd censorship. Author Salman Rushdie on Monday decried the revisions to Roald Dahl's children's books by so-called sensitivity experts, calling these changes absurd censorship. Roald Dahl was no angel, but this is absurd censorship, Rushdie wrote on Twitter. Puffin and the Roald Dahl estate should be ashamed. Its critiques are the latest to come after Dahl's publisher and the Roald Dahl Story Company hired people to sanitise the books. And like I said earlier, it's absolute proliferation, a complete waste of time and not right. Now, there were things that Roald Dahl had written originally, which he got asked to change, and although he didn't want to, he did agree to changing them, i.e. calling the African accents silly or stupid or something like that, and various other bits and pieces as well, but nothing major. But we're now talking about removing the word fat and removing the word ugly. And the only thing I can think of is, if kids don't read them in books anymore, they might think they're more sweary words and might get hurt more by them if they get called fat or ugly. Whereas if they're reading a book, oh well, you know, Thingy was fat and he was alright, you know, it might be better for him. But I don't know. But I think it's absolute tosh that they're changing the wordings of books of a dead author. You know, like I said earlier, where does it stop? Kim Jong-un's sister threatens to turn Pacific into firing range. Kim Jong-un's sister warned the US that unless it stops conducting military exercises with its allies in the region, North Korea will turn the Pacific Ocean into its firing range. Kim Yo-jong issued the stark threat on Monday as North Korea launched two more ballistic missiles off its east coast just 2 days after firing nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missile into the sea off Japan's west coast. Yeah. Just yeah. NASA confirms half-ton meteor crashed into South Texas. A nearly 1,000-pound meteor measuring 2 feet wide crashed into South Texas on Wednesday, according to reports. Confirmed the meteorite broke apart as it fell through the atmosphere to its resting place near McAllen, Texas, around 6 p.m. Although meteorites tend to hit Earth's atmosphere at high speeds, they slow as they travel through the atmosphere, breaking into small fragments before hitting the ground. Meteorites cool rapidly and weigh considerably more than rocks found on the planet. Except for the rocks that are falling out of the sky, you see. Florida medics disciplined after dead patient found to be breathing. Clearwater Fire Chief is responding after a man, 2 paramedics pronounced dead, was later found to be breathing. The 2 medics have been suspended as an investigation is underway. It's happened before though, hasn't it? The poor woman who was sent to a funeral home. Hundreds of New Jersey residents rally against green energy over environmental concerns. Hundreds of residents in a coastal New Jersey town rallied over the weekend against offshore and wind energy in response to recent surge in whale deaths. Now, no one's proved that the whales are dying because of the wind turbines or anything similar, but it does seem a bit of a weird, strange coincidence. Food additives banned in Europe are certainly making Americans sick. Oh yeah, people have not got these medical conditions in Europe. because they don't eat these chemicals. Oh. Everyone loves bread, but it could be a silent killer, and not for the reason you'd think. Experts warn that an additive not restricted in the US could be making Americans sick. Potassium bromate, the sneaky ingredient in bread that strengthens the dough, is banned from food products in Europe, China and India due to it being a suspected carcinogenic. So you think by now America would have actually opened their eyes and thought, oh, actually, what's that soft bread thing that they do? I saw it on Abandoned Engineering. They have the big factory with the softest bread in the world, and it turned out they were putting stuff in there that they shouldn't have been putting in. There was a lot of kerfuffle about it, and the company went bust. Passengers running late for flight calls in a hoax bomb threat to delay the plane. So I'm late for my flight. It's my fault. I'm late. So I know what I'll do. I'll pretend there's a bomb on board. That'll hold the plane up, and then I can get there and get on the plane because it's been delayed. An Indian army engineer was arrested on Monday for allegedly making a bogus bomb threat in a desperate attempt to delay his flight after already missing another that morning. He's a superintending engineer of military engineering services, and he was upset after his first missing the 5:15 a.m. flight, and then he being denied entry to the 10:50 flight. He decided to basically bring in a false bomb hoax to delay the plane so that he could catch it. But they traced the call back to him. His phone number was on the mandate for that plane. They realised he wasn't on the plane, so he got arrested, and rightly so. Japan proposes raising age of sexual consent from 13 to 16. And you're like, 13? Seriously? Japan has proposed raising the age of consent from 13 to 16 as part of an overhaul of sex crime legislation after a string of controversial rape acquittals. The Japanese Justice Ministry proposal also poses to criminalise the grooming of minors and broaden the definition of rape, as well as increasing the statute of limitations for reporting rape from 10 to 15 years. I always thought, I know China's a little bit out there, but I genuinely would not think they'd be so behind the times to allow 13-year-olds to have consensual sex. 13. I mean, when I was 13, I was still trying to figure out what all my bits were and what they were doing. But to think you could have sex and, therefore one assumes, have babies and all that kind of stuff, that's bonkers. China, sort them laws out. Meanwhile, gondolas stranded in Venice as Italy faces danger of new drought. Remember, we're in winter at the moment. Venice tourists may have to scrap their plans for romantic gondola rides as the famed city of water is in for a dry spell. The iconic rowing boats have been left stranded after a winter of little rain and snowfall resulted in unusually low water levels in the canal-filled city. Concerns have also mounted that Italy could be in for another drought after last summer's emergency, according to various news outlets. But yeah, it is weird, isn't it? But it wasn't that long ago that they were showing us, was it St Michael's Square, St Peter's Square, completely flooded and people using them walkway things that they've got so you don't get your feet wet. And now there's a drought. Yeah, weather's perfectly normal. Texas schoolgirl official resigns after third grader finds his gun in bathroom. A Texas school superintendent has resigned after a third grade student, so that would be 8, 7, 8, 9, found his gun that he'd left unattended in a school bathroom. The guy stepped down from his position on Monday, a month after the weapon was discovered. Yeah. Why has he got a gun in school, and then why is he leaving it in the bathroom that the kids use? So many questions. I mean, he did the right thing in resigning, but that should never have been a situation. Biden slams Putin's craven lust for land and power. but doesn't call for tyrant's ouster. President Biden ripped Russian President Vladimir Putin's craven lust for Ukrainian land in Poland's capital on Tuesday, but refrained from repeating his call for Putin's ouster ahead of the Friday anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. Again, you don't know. Well, no one knows what's going on in Putin's head because Belarus. Oh, this is different. Belarus foreign minister died by suicide after meeting Putin's officials. The foreign minister of Belarus died by suicide just days after returning from a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin's officials in Armenia, according to a new report. Long-serving foreign minister Vladimir Maky, 64, was reported to have suffered a heart attack when he died suddenly on November 26. But according to reporting by the independent Belarus media outlet, they've now decided that he actually committed suicide. I mean, I don't think you can commit suicide from a heart attack, but I think what they mean is there was no heart attack. Japanese startup reveals balloon flight space viewing tours. Now, talk about bad timing, eh? Japanese startup announced plans Tuesday to launch commercial space viewing balloon flights that it hopes will bring an otherwise astronomically expensive experience down to Earth. Company CEO said passengers do not need to be billionaires to go through intense training or have the language skills needed to fly a rocket. It's safe, economical, and gentle for people. Yeah. However, if you drift off course, you're likely to get shot down by the American Air Force. So, yeah, I'll give that one a miss. Thanks, but no thanks. This is a weird one. Madeleine McCann's parents agree to DNA test woman claiming to be their daughter. Missing British child Madeleine McCann's parents have agreed to a DNA test for a Polish woman who believes that she is their daughter, even though representatives for the young woman making the stunning claim admits that her background is messy. Jerry and Kate McCann, whose 3-year-old daughter Madeleine disappeared on vacation in Portugal over 15 years ago, are following up on Julia Fashuma's claims. Yeah, I think it's somewhat unlikely. Again, I've said many times what I think's gone on there, so we'll leave that, we'll part that one up. Famed climber who lived in Yosemite cave for 13 years has been found dead. A renowned mountain climber who famously lived in a cave at Yosemite National Park for 13 years has been found dead in an apparent fall in the Canadian Rockies. Canadian Rangers located the body of Zach Milligan, 43, at the base of the 2,300 foot tall Polar Circus in Jasper National Park. According to reports, they found what appeared to be a deceased person at the bottom of the cliff face. Now, a lot of these adrenaline junkies do a lot of climbing without any safety equipment whatsoever, and then often tragedies like this occur. Not as many as you would think, though. 700-pound alligator kills Florida woman 85 who tried to save the dog from attack. An 85-year-old Florida woman tragically died on Monday while trying to save her dog from a 10-foot alligator. The freak attack reportedly occurred outside Spanish Lakes Fairways, a retirement community in Fort Pierce. According to residents, the unidentified octogenarian had been walking her pet when an alligator suddenly lunged out of the water and grabbed it. She attempted to save but succumbed to injuries gained by the alligator. The newborn pulled from earthquake rubble adopted by aunt and uncle. A baby girl born underneath the rubble in Syria after a devastating earthquake toppled her home and killed her entire immediate family has been adopted by her aunt and uncle and named in honour of her late mother, which I think is a fitting thing to do, and we like that. Good evening, Ben. Border Patrol now begs for help to stop 800% surge of migrants sneaking in from Canada, as I said earlier. Migrant problems in America as well as everywhere else in the world. The Border Patrol is begging agents to volunteer in the north after a staggering nearly 850% surge of mostly Mexican migrants illegally crossing into the US from Canada. The agent Swanson sector in Vermont, covering parts of upstate New York and New Hampshire, requested a quick turnaround of agents from the already overwhelmed southern border. So yeah, they're coming in both ways. To be fair, if I was sneaking in America, I'd go to Canada and then come down because that border is so long. And literally, there's towns where one side of the town is in Canada, the other side of the town is in America. You just go one of them towns and just cross the road. And then whoop, oh, I'm in America. Didn't even know I'd done it. Didn't even know I'd done it. I didn't even know I'd done it. Not long now till the new F1 season, which is correct. You are correct. Where are we up to? That one. Putin blames war on Western country, defends Ukraine invasion in a major speech. Well, what do you expect him to do? Russian Vladimir President Putin accused Western countries on Tuesday of igniting and sustaining the war in Ukraine, dismissing any blame for Moscow almost a year after the Kremlin's unprovoked invasion of its neighbour that's killed tens of thousands of people. In his long-delayed State of the Nation address, Putin cast Russia and Ukraine as victims of Western double-dealing and said Russia, not Ukraine, was defending its rights. Ooh. Shooting at the moonlit Bunny Ranch brothel, one female employee in custody. A female employee at a Nevada brothel has been arrested after multiple law enforcement agencies responded to a shooting at the site on Monday night. Sadly for her, the majority of customers in the brothel were police officers. I don't know, I'm just saying that. Probably not. New York City teen killed while subway surfing on a train across the Williamsburg Bridge. Now this is a thing that's popular in America for all the wrong reasons. A 15-year-old boy died when subway surfing on a train crossing the Williamsburg Bridge on Monday evening. The teen was riding on the roof of a northbound J train heading across the bridge when he slammed his head on part of the structure around 6:45 p.m. He fell beneath the train and was pronounced dead at the scene. Yeah, absolutely horrendous thing. But again, what possesses people to go on the top of a train and surf on it? 3 dolphins found dead after getting stranded off Jersey Shore. 3 dolphins died over the weekend when they become stuck in shallow water along the Jersey Shore, according to reports. The trio of sea animals were seen struggling in the surf at Sandy Hook Bay on Saturday, according to footage posted on Twitter by a photographer. A rescue team from the Marine Mammal Stranding Centre was not able to reach the sea mammals in time. So they're in shallow water, but sadly the water was not accessible enough for a rescue. Republican Paul Gosar ripped for tweeting Russia is not our enemy. Far-right Republican Paul Gosar was slammed by Twitter users on Monday for saying that Ukraine is not our friend and Russia is not our enemy. On the heels of President Biden's first trip to the war-torn nation, the Arizona Republican, frustrated with the US government's steady support for Ukraine since Russia's February 24, 2022 invasion, also slammed Biden for visiting Kyiv on President's Day. Yeah, we do like sensible politicians in America. Sadly, there's very few of them. Did you buy a first generation 2007 iPhone? Because if you did, and it's still factory sealed, you could sell it for many tens of thousands of pounds. A factory sealed iPhone sold for $63,356.40 at auction on Sunday. The unopened 8GB phone, 8GB, was estimated to go for at least $50,000, but brought in even more cash. The Apple Relic sold for more than 100 times its original price of $599 in 2007. After 27 people placed online bids. Bidding started at $2,500. But yeah, $63,000 for an unused iPhone. I mean, just imagine if it had Flappy Bird on it, how much it'd be worth. Imagine it wouldn't be sealed, but it'd probably be worth a hell of a lot more than $68,000. I saw that on This Morning programme. Yeah, exactly. I didn't, but anyway. A 1-year-old girl among 3 killed in Chicago highway shooting. A baby girl and 2 teenagers were killed in a shooting on a Chicago highway on Sunday night. 3 other victims were injured after gunfire erupted on the I-157 expressway on the south side of the Windy City around 10:30 p.m. The slain infant was 1-year-old Amara Hall, who was pronounced dead after she was rushed to hospital. Again, America. Seriously. Fifth Amendment, whatever. Seriously. Stop killing children. Please. Pregnant woman in Uber killing argues to be freed because fetus is innocent. Video shows fatal shooting. A pregnant Florida woman charged with fatally shooting a mother of 3 in an Uber last year is arguing to be let out of jail because her unborn child hasn't committed a crime. In an unusual legal argument, it's genius, to be fair. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers, but it's genius. In an unusual legal argument, attorneys for the woman filed a motion on behalf of her fetus, asserting that it shouldn't be behind bars without being charged with an offence. Seriously. I mean, and it's like, no, F off. You killed, there's a video of you shooting a woman in the head. You're going to prison. When you have your child, the child will come out of prison. You stay in prison. The child, yeah, doesn't deserve to, but no, because it's a fetus, it doesn't deserve to be in prison. Mum sues New York City school system after daughter 6 wakes up alone on a school bus and then wanders onto a busy street. Staten Island mum Jenna Carlson filed a lawsuit against New York City Department of Education after a 6-year-old woke up alone on a school bus. So basically, the school bus had done its rounds, she'd fallen asleep on the school bus, not got off where she should have got off. It wasn't checked that there was no one on the bus, and they just abandoned the bus wherever they abandoned it, and the child got out of the bus and then Neil got run over on a busy street. A 3rd train derails in Midwest as Pete Buttigieg announces visit to Ohio crash site. A 3rd train has derailed in the Midwest, this time in Gothenburg, Nebraska. America, sort your bloody trains out as well. We've been saying this for a few weeks, I'll be honest with you. Meanwhile, at GameStop, GameStop killing sees 2 charged with capital murder. A 25-year-old man was shot and killed in a Texas GameStop over the weekend, and 2 people have been charged with capital murder in the case. Police have not said if the victim knew the suspects. Where are the parents for the school kid? Well, they weren't on the school bus, because school buses are those yellow buses that go around and pick kids up from school, all ages, including 6-year-olds. But you think there'd be some check, you know, especially if the school bus goes past and your daughter doesn't appear at the end of the drive. You'd be like, oh, hang on a minute, the school bus has just gone past and it's not stopped. And also the driver, sure, they would realise that they always stop at this stop, and they picked her up this morning, so where's she now? She's at the back of the bus asleep. Oh, I'll leave her there, she'll be fine. She won't have to get up early in the morning when I pick the bus up. Texas lawmakers consider legalising green cremation. Texas lawmakers are considering a bill that would add water cremation as a way to break down the human body into minerals and bone fragments after death. So the problem is we don't know what happens after we die until we die. But then we can't tell anyone what's happened because we're dead. So are we aware still of our bodies and what's going on with our bodies? I mean, it's unlikely, but we don't know. Do we transfer our minds and thoughts and beings into a fetus, maybe in a prison in America? Or do we come back as a maggot and then we have to work our way through the evolutionary system to become human again in 100 years or whatever? It's very peculiar. But yeah, this water cremation is something that's also been discussed in the UK, and I'm not exactly sure how it works, and I don't know whether I want to be drowned or not if I'm already dead. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of cremation, but I'm not a fan of being eaten by worms either. Anyway, it's it's a bit peculiar. It's a bit peculiar, isn't it? Where are we up to? We're up to green cremation. There we are. Florida fairgoers get stuck upside down on a ride in a terrifying mishap. It's more than a mishap. Florida fairgoers got stuck upside down on a ride that malfunctioned in the state fair on Friday. It left them thankful to be alive, apparently. The Ferris wheel, which features enclosed carriages that swing and flip upside down, slowed down due to its safety mechanism acting up, which caused some of the carts to get stuck upside down as its rider held on for dear life. Anyway, everyone got out safely eventually, and there was more than a little bit of blood rushing to the head, I would imagine, as well. But yeah, all's well that ends well. Russian intercontinental ballistic missile test failed while Biden was in Ukraine. A Russian tested an intercontinental ballistic missile on Monday while President Biden was in Ukraine that appears to have failed, according to a report. US officials said that Russia used a deconfliction line to notify the US in advance of the missile test, which reportedly did not pose a risk to the country. According to the officials, the US did not view the test as an anomaly or escalation. The test was of a nuclear-capable heavy Sarmat missile dubbed Satan II by NATO and classified as a superweapon, but not this time because it failed. Oh dear. You think for Putin things can't get any worse, they get worse. And then you get this utter nonsense. Florida bill would ban dogs from sticking their heads out of car windows. It's the only pleasure dogs have, other than being able to lick themselves in various intimate places, I suppose. Everything's just got so doggone political. A new state bill filed in Florida last week would make it illegal for dogs to stick their heads out of moving car windows, a pastime man's best friend is famously loves. The unnamed bill, introduced by Democratic State Senator Lauren Buck, includes several provisions that would ensure the safety of canines when inside a moving vehicle. If passed, a dog would not be allowed to put its head out of the window whilst the vehicle was moving. What utter nonsense. I mean, absolute. Why don't we all just, give up all this woke society and we'll just strip naked, get into one of them pod things like they have in The Matrix, get stuff pumped into us and then just put us to sleep and we can dream what we want to dream about 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without any of this stress and none of this nonsense. Absolute. Ugh. Kay Limmick's school suffers new threat days after she insisted size Z breasts are real. The Canadian school, which employs teacher Carly Limix, who wears size Z prosthetic breasts to a class, received its latest threat on Tuesday, days after published photos of her dressed as a man while not at work. In an email to parents and staff at the Oakville Trafalgar High School, acting principal Steve Oliver said the anonymous unspecified threat was made online. So yeah, people are objecting to this teacher. I mean, again, if you want to be trans, you want to dress as a woman or whatever, that's fine, absolutely fine. But I mean, size Z breasts? Seriously? I mean, no wonder you get all this criticism. People are not. I don't think the woman realises that the people are not thinking, what a hero. They're thinking, what an idiot, what a pillock. Alex Murdaugh's lawyer points assault rifle at prosecutors during court demonstration and says the word tempting. One of Alex Murdaugh's lawyers pointed an assault rifle at the prosecutor's table and quipped tempting during a demonstration Tuesday afternoon that led to some courtroom laughs at the double homicide trial. So yeah, there's a homicide trial going on. One of the weapons is basically part of the trial, and they decided to make a joke out of it. Yeah, only in America. I mean, 2 people are dead, and they're making jokes in court about guns being pointed at people. And these are the lawyers. Meanwhile, military families forced to rely on food pantries, food banks, to survive in grossly expensive New York City. Jamie Billert grew up in a military family and thought she knew the meaning of sacrifice, but nothing prepared her for a transfer to New York City, where she often goes without meat for a growing family because they can't afford the price of groceries. It's grossly more expensive here, said Billert, a 31 who lives in a base housing on Staten Island with her 3 children and husband. Yeah, it's not just British Army people and nurses who are using food banks. It's all over the world. What if the gun went off? I'm pretty sure the gun in the court wouldn't have had anything in it. I think it would have been, and to be fair, it was probably still in a bag as well, because it would be evidence, wouldn't it? The mother of New York City teen killed subway surfing speaks out and says the family is hurting. Now, if you want to do subway surfing, I must admit I did it the other day, but I did it on Grand Theft Auto Online. Before I'd seen this, and I've done it on the train loads of times, but it's not real. And yes, you do get your head taken off occasionally and end up dying, but it's not real. You just respawn. This is real. He's not respawning, unfortunately. The 15-year-old Manhattan boy who was killed while subway surfing on the Williamsburg Bridge was funny and a nice kid, his grief-stricken mother said. Zachary Nazbrayo's tragic and sudden death on Monday evening has left the family devastated. Heartbroken mum said outside her Alphabet City apartment. The family is hurt, and she described her son as very, very nice. And yeah, it's absolute tragedy, and you've got to feel for the parents. I don't think there's anything the parents could have done to stop their son doing this. I think it's just something they see somewhere and think that's a good idea, I'll do that. But yeah, I mean, it happened, I think it happened years ago in Britain. I mean, might have been, I mean, we're talking decades ago, I'm pretty sure. And some child got onto a roof of a train, but it was an electric train, and touched the cables and got electrocuted. And then there's been loads of cases of children touching the overhead electric cables with metal sticks and poles and getting electrocuted. But again, not recently, but certainly in the past. But yeah, hopefully his death will be positive in the way that it will encourage other people not to do that kind of thing. And if you're going to do that kind of thing, do it in a computer game or something similar. Yeah, or he might have seen, I mean, to be fair, they might have watched a documentary or something on trains in India where, you know, they completely cover the outside of the train with people just hanging on. And the train goes, but you know, there's no overhead stuff in India. The main danger is you might get hit by a tree branch or something, but that's very unlikely. Most danger is from letting go and falling off and getting killed. But yeah, you don't know what went on in his head in order to do that. But yeah, it's just awful. New York City reportedly sells nearly $225 million worth of COVID supplies for just $500,000. Again, it's not just in the UK where PPE is absolutely been messed up. It's all over the world. It's Australia. We've read stuff about India, America. City officials auctioned off nearly $225 million worth of surplus COVID-19 medical equipment and safety gear for just $500,000, or a paltry 0.2 cents on the dollar. The bargain basement sales included nearly 3,000 mechanical ventilators that cost taxpayers $12 million, but were unloaded as non-functioning medical equipment for scrap metal. Now, I'm pretty sure there would be. Yeah, it's PPE stuff. It'll be masks and stuff like that, as well as the expensive stuff. But what you do is, we spent $12 million on these ventilators. What we do is we spend another $500,000 on these ventilators, and we get them working, and then we put them somewhere safe and secure, And then when COVID-20 comes along, or whatever, SARS-5, we've got the ventilators already. We don't need to buy them again. We've got these working ventilators. We can just wheel them out and off we go. But no, they don't think like that. Let's just chuck money, good money away. They spent more on those ventilators. They spent 24 times more on those ventilators than what they actually got for the whole lot of stuff. It's frightening. It really is. People who are running these countries and governments and councils and whatever, it's like, oh my God, seriously. I mean, look at this. We've got a new drug now. This is skin rotting drug, Tranq. It infiltrates big cities in America and it's zombifying bodies. Now, have you ever seen arms of people who inject heroin? A lot. It's horrendous. I mean, I'm squeamish at the best of times, but I mean, there's literally, you can see through the skin, or there's no skin there, and you can see all the tendons and everything under there. It's horrible. This is worse. There's a new drug in town, and it's deadly consequences. Xiazane, otherwise known as Tranq, or Tranq dope, and zombie drug, is wreaking havoc in major cities across the US with its devastating effects. It can literally rot the user's skin. The substance, which seems to first appear in Philadelphia before migrating to San Francisco and Los Angeles, was used for cutting heroin, but it's now found to be even more liked than heroin by the people who take heroin. But yeah, it basically zombifies you and your skin starts falling off in chunks. Colorado convenience store shooting leaves 5 people hospitalized. A shooting at a Colorado convenience store Tuesday night left 5 people hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made. America, gun laws now. Please, sort. Thank you. Georgia deputies arrest man accused of striking pregnant woman with car amid domestic dispute. Georgia deputies arrested a man who's accused of hitting his pregnant woman with his car after a domestic dispute, according to the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. And look, he's got his gun out and he's pointing at the guy who's on his knees with his hands behind his back, and doesn't look like there's any bullet holes in that guy. Oh, hang on a minute though. He's a white guy. Interesting. Pentagon warns military service members to stay away from poppy seeds as they could cause failed drug tests. Has the Pentagon only just realised this? Opium, is made from poppies in Afghanistan and places like that. What you do is, I've seen it on the telly, when the poppy opens up and it gets thinking of it, goes back together again, and then it forms the seeds. But if you scratch the sides of the thing when it's closed, this white substance appears, and that is your opium. And then you collect that, and then you ship it illegally to different countries, and off you go. But it's poppy seeds are the same thing, and I've known for years that if you eat a lot of poppy seeds, I mean, you have to eat a hell of a lot of poppy seeds. I'll be honest with you. It's not like if you eat a bun with poppy seeds on it, you're not going to fail a drugs test. But if you eat 1,000 buns, or if you eat a kilogram of poppy seeds in one go, it'll probably kill you, to be fair. But you would then fail a drugs thing because the opium is still in the poppy seeds, but in minute, tiny quantities. But yeah, the Pentagon. Wow, well done, Pentagon. Thank you for realising. Well, I don't even know. Stuff it. You're absolutely useless. Go away. Leave me alone. Sorry, getting angry. Tennessee man charged after munching on chips that a thief dropped near a convenience store. A Memphis, Tennessee man was arrested and charged with theft after picking up crisps. They're called chips in America, but crisps that a thief dropped on the way out of a store. So the guy saw the guy drop the crisps, didn't necessarily know that the guy had shoplifted them. I thought, I'm not going to tell him he's dropped them, I'm going to have them. Starts eating them and gets arrested and charged with theft. America, seriously. Do a guy for eating a bag of chips, but people walk around with guns left, right and centre. That's fine. Remaining court rules to hold Andrew Tate for 30 more days. Oh dear, what a shame. What an absolute travesty of justice if he's ever released. I mean, yeah, guilty until proven innocent. 2,400-year-old first flushable toilet was discovered in China. It was a flush down memory lane. A 2,400-year-old flushable toilet was discovered in China's Shanghai province last summer and revealed this month, reported China Daily. According to experts, the manual toilet was found in the ruins of a palace located in Yiyang that may have been used as far back as the time of the Warring States period of 424 BC and the Qin dynasty of 221 to 206 BC. It's the first and only flush toilet found that is older than the flush toilets that we know of in the last 100-200 years. Again, just shows that the ancient Chinese people were considerably advanced compared to the people around them. Splashing news, yes. And the toilet seat was up because the last person to use it was a man. Sorry, sperm producer. I'm not allowed to say man, am I? A Virginia 5th grader threatened to pop bullets at a school where a teacher was shot by a 6-year-old. A 5th grade student at the same Virginia school where a 6-year-old shot his teacher last month was yanked from classes this week after threatening to pop some bullets. The youngster, who was not identified, also texted classmates over the weekend saying someone should shoot up the class, and the school sent letters out because that is, it's scary. Well done, America. You're teaching pre-teens that gun violence is normal. You should be so proud of yourselves. Scientists discover shocking new detail about the Earth's core. How? It's 8,000 miles down or whatever. How? How have you discovered anything new about it? It's not like you can go there. So give your heads a wobble and do something that's more important. Curing cancer. Saving the planet from global warming. Producing food in places where we can't produce food at the moment. Stopping cows fart. You know, that kind of thing. Rather than saying, the historic understanding of the Earth's inner core has been called to question by a group of scientists from the Australian National University after analysing earthquake data. Seismologists from the university believe they have found evidence of previously unknown layer inside the Earth called the innermost inner core. The innermost inner core layer, according to researchers, looks like a solid metallic ball. An article from the ANU published on Wednesday said that findings uncovered by the researchers were true. Yes, absolute nonsense. I mean, who cares? Who cares what is going on 5,000, 8,000 miles below our feet? Apart from Australian scientists. Wobblehead Ed Wobble. MTA chief wants Russian roulette subway surf videos off social media. So yeah, well, you were right. The MTA chairman demanded Wednesday that social media companies take down viral videos of New Yorkers surfing atop subway trains, comparing it to sharing footage of people playing Russian roulette. I mean, it's not very PC slagging off the Russians, you know. Calling their games, saying they're, you should be doing that. Lieber's comments to a local radio station come days after Manhattan teenager died attempting the dangerous and illegal stunts on a J train as it crossed the Williamsburg Bridge. You've got to teach these kids that, that's not cool, that is stupidity. Maybe show them a video of someone having their head removed from their shoulders. Detective in Madeleine McCann's case doubts Polish woman's claim. No, Sherlock. Really? You really do? A private detective tied to the Madeleine McCann case cast doubt on a Polish woman's sensational claims that she is a kidnapped British toddler. Just days after reports surfaced that the tots desperate parents had agreed to a DNA test without knowing the details in depth, it does not add up. Investigator Francesco Marco told the Spanish newspaper El Independiente this week. Yeah, it's yeah, it's a strange story, and the McCann's back in the news again. Are they thinking, yeah, we'll agree to a DNA test, even though they know what's happened? Um, it did. I'm going to report on it later. Um, they're going to know. They just want publicity to get back on This Morning again and stuff like that. Have they got a book coming out or something? I don't know. It's her siblings I feel sorry for. Who were they're twins. I don't know whether they were one or two at the time, but they're going to be like teenagers now. Imagine the stick they're getting at school at the minute. Oh, horrendous. Unseen photo of JFK on day of unseen photo of JFK on day of assassination found in thrift shop CD case. And there's a picture of JFK on November the 22nd, 1963. That's it. That's the story. It was just found in a CD case in a charity shop. That's it. There's no other story. It's not like it solves the murder or anything. It's just a photo. Biden stumbles up Air Force One stairs again, leaving Poland laughing. Oh no, just leaving Poland. President Biden once again has issues keeping his balance after he stumbled up the steps of Air Force One on his way home from Poland. President Joe Biden departs Poland after making first anniversary of Ukraine invasion marking. This is not the first time the president has tripped up going upstairs. Yeah, he's done it all the time. Put them in a separate room and a lie detector test both will fail. He'll crack first. I don't know. Well, yeah, he probably would actually. He looks a bit of a softie, doesn't he? But anyway, that's the story for another day. We will see how this pans out because there is more. There is more to this story. Oh, yeah, Biden stumbling on Air Force One. There's more to that story as well. There he is. Maybe had a whiskey or two. Well, Biden. Yeah. A New York City woman shot in the head in apartment building hallway. A 41-year-old woman was struggling to survive after she was shot in the head by a man in a public housing building in Harlem on Wednesday. 8:30 a.m. on the 6th floor hallway. America, guns now, sort, please. Stop people getting shot. There's no need for these people to get shot all the time. Oh, do a live on it, please. Okay. Drinking Coke and Pepsi leads to larger testicles and more testosterone, a study says. A study has revealed how drinking Coca-Cola and Pepsi can lead to larger testicles and higher testosterone levels. The North Minsu University in China was attempting to determine the impact of carbonated beverages on fertility and sex organs in men. The study looked at 3 groups of mice. One that only drank water, another that drank different levels of Coca-Cola, and another doing the same with Pepsi. I mean, it's got to be said that, you know, this news channel this news program goes to all different levels. I mean, last week we were talking about scrotums, if I remember rightly. This week we're talking about the inside of the scrotums, and if you want bigger testicles, you need to drink Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Sadly for me, I can't drink either, so I'll have to stick with my. Anyway, I don't want to discuss it anymore. Rare blizzard warnings issued for Los Angeles mountain areas. First time since 1989 one such thing was issued. No Biden trip to Ohio train derailment site after Trump visit. President Biden has no plans to visit residents of East Palestine, Ohio, after a toxic chemical spill there caused by train derailment nearly 3 weeks ago. White House press secretary told reporters on Thursday, one day after President Trump travelled to the state, that Biden would not be going, which I think is wrong. I think you should go and just prove that you're a better person than Trump. Mind you, it's not difficult proving you're a better person than Trump, is it? Florida shows chaotic arrest of a Florida teen accused of killing TV reporter and a 9-year-old girl. Florida police revealed dramatic body cam footage showing the arrest of a teen suspected of fatally shooting 3 people on Wednesday, including a local TV journalist and a defenceless 9-year-old girl. "I can't breathe," Keith Moses, 19, repeatedly screams as Orange County Sheriff's Office deputies take him on the ground. "I can't breathe." Basically, the story was there was a murder, double murder, including the 9-year-old girl. Tragic, again, America, guns now, sort. And some hours later, a news team went to cover this tragedy, and the gunman returned and killed the reporter of the news team, and shot the other person there, who I assume was a cameraman, and then was arrested by the police, who were still in the area. Billionaire financier Thomas H. Lee found dead in self-inflicted gunshot wound in New York City office. Billionaire financier and investor Thomas H. Lee was found dead in a self-inflicted gunshot wound at his Manhattan office on Thursday morning, police sources said. On the 6th floor about 11:10 a.m. Emergency team said the 78-year-old businessman was dead when they arrived, which would be from a gunshot wound to the head. UK fire chief bans use of fireman and firemen as sexist. UK fire chief has been accused of wokeism gone mad after banning the term fireman and firemen, calling them sexist and exclusionary and a microaggression that is damaging to our culture. Dave Russell, the chief fire officer for Greater Manchester, said in an email obtained by the Bolton Evening News, this is being reported in America by the way, that the terms used in everyday vocabulary will not be tolerated. "We employ firefighters, not firemen." I mean, I've noticed the word firefighters has been coming forward more, but I mean, you've also got fire women as well, and firemen. But to say it's causing issues to society, people like him are causing issues to society. Seattle kids forced to walk past junkies shooting up on their way to school. Drug-addled streets are becoming more commonplace in major liberal US cities such as Los Angeles, Philadelphia and Portland. In Seattle, scenes of addiction have spread to neighborhoods where children must walk to school every day. Outside of Summit Area High School, a top charter school in the city, footage shows students walking past addicts shooting up on the streets, littered with drug paraphernalia. Yeah, it's horrendous. What we do about the drug problem, I've no idea. But worldwide, we need to sort this out, one way or another. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's US approval rating plummets after South Park dig. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's approval ratings in the US took a drastic tumble following a South Park episode that mercilessly mocked the couple. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's decision to move across the pond in a desperate bid for privacy was highlighted in the show's latest title episode, The Worldwide Privacy Tour, and as a result, their ratings have plummeted. You said that, Sean, not me. Where are we? But yeah, well done, South Park. I think they should be given a knighthood by the King, even though they're not British. That was Julia Fastnia's parents speak out on the claim to be Madeleine McCann. The family of the Polish woman claiming to be kidnapped British toddler Madeleine McCann has broken their silence to deny she is a long-lost missing girl, saying that she suffers from mental health issues and ignore their pleas to stop with her lies and manipulation. Julia Fatsina, 21, who also goes by Julia Wendell or Julia Wanderlet, said they are devastated by the media attention that she has gotten for posting viral videos claiming to be Madeleine McCann all grown up. But yeah, even if the family is saying it. But then again, would the family have to say that if they'd illegally gained a child that they're known to be Madeleine McCann? Russia launches rescue ship to space station after leaks. Remember last week we were talking about a leaking spaceship on the International Space Station. Well, Russia's launched a rescue ship on Friday to two cosmonauts and NASA astronaut whose original ride home sprang a dangerous leak while parked at the International Space Station. The new empty Soyuz capsule should arrive at the orbiting lab on Sunday. The capsule leak in December was blamed on a micrometeorite that punctured the external radiator, draining it of coolant. The same thing appeared to happen again earlier this month, this time on a docked Russian cargo ship. Yeah, that's the problem you go to space. It's a bit dangerous, especially if you go up in a balloon and it gets shut down by the Americans. Anyway, Zelensky message on Ukraine war anniversary: "We will defeat everyone." Slight worrying, as he's suddenly become into a wants world domination. But no. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky marked the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion on Friday with a somber message of defiance to his people, saying we will defeat everyone in a video released to the media and entitled "The Year of Invincibility." The 45-year-old sat at a desk and recalled how he addressed Ukrainians a year ago in a hurried statement as Kyiv and the world reeled from Russia's act of war. So yeah, fingers crossed everything is going to sort itself out this year, because we don't want more tens of thousands of people being killed. And it's just horrible, isn't it? It's just beyond horrible what's going on over there. Philadelphia police say 7 shot near a schoolyard, including 5 teens and a 2-year-old. The police department says that 7 people were shot near a schoolyard in the city's Strawberry Mansion neighbourhood on Thursday evening. Officials said the shooting happened near the schoolyard of James Blaine School on Thursday just before 6 p.m. Victims included a 31-year-old female, 16-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old girl. Horrible, horrible, horrible. America. Why can't they see what we see? So annoying. Scientists discover monster galaxies near dawn of the universe. Mind blown. Astronomers have possibly discovered 6 monster galaxies dating back to within 600 million years of the Big Bang. The James Webb Space Telescope has identified several older galaxies, some within just 300 million years of the birth of the universe. Galaxies as massive and mature as these suggest they were on a cosmic fast track from the get up and go, stunning scientists. Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? But should we be solving problems on the planet rather than looking at stuff that happened billions of years ago? Again, waste of time, waste of money. How's that going to affect anyone on this planet at this moment in time? I mean, even if they say, well, we've looked at this now, we've realised that in 25 billion years time, our solar system will be so big that all the planets will rip apart and all life will die. Well, I'm pretty sure the way the planet's going at the minute, all life will be dead on this planet within 100 years, never mind 25 billion years. So give your heads a wobble and sort the problems out we've got down here. Wild footage shows freight train destroying a tractor trailer in Rockland County. This train kept rolling. A freight train barreled straight through a semi-trailer at the Rockland County grade crossing Thursday morning. Wild footage shows. I've seen the footage of it, to be fair. The truck driver was able to narrowly escape before the train, with its whistle blowing, obliterated the storage he was hauling after he got stuck in the middle of the tracks. There's quite a lot of injuries like this in America, and it's because they have the tracks higher up onto the road, whereas in Britain they're the same level. So maybe what they need to do is rise the roads up either side of the tracks, so that when a long vehicle or a semi or an 18-wheeler is going along, you're not going to bottom out on the tracks because it's raised up like that. Again, it's common sense. America, give your heads a wobble, sort your gun laws out, and sort your level crossings out. Okay? Seriously? Please. Thank you. China calls for peace talks and a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. On the eve of the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, China has called for a ceasefire between the two sides and for peace talks to commence as part of a 12-point plan to end the war. China's foreign ministry revealed the plan on Friday and has also called for the end of Western sanctions on Russia, measures to ensure nuclear facilities, humanitarian corridors for civilians to flee the conflict, and a process to ensure peace in both countries. And you're like, yeah, okay then. That seems reasonable, but are you just sending us fake signals for what you're really thinking? Texas man who blamed elderly neighbour's killing on Lucifer, charged with murder. A man accused of murdering his elderly neighbour in Austin, Texas, reportedly told police that he blacked out and Lucifer actually killed the victim. Now you see, that pregnant woman earlier was saying that she shouldn't be in prison because her fetus didn't commit the crime that she committed. Should have gone for Lucifer. It'd have been a much better argument. Zelensky rules out sitting down for peace talks with Putin, and rightly so. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Friday said he would meet with Chinese Xi Jinping after Beijing called for peace talks to end the war, though he categorically refused to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. I am planning to meet with Xi Jinping, Zelensky said during a wide-ranging 2-hour press conference on the anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This will be important for world security. He did not say when or where the meeting would take place, but yeah, fingers crossed that something comes from that. But yeah, I agree. You can't negotiate with Vladimir Putin. He's totally untrustworthy in every level. I mean, beyond every level. A 15-year-old Georgia girl shot dead in her bed, and 3 teens are charged. A 15-year-old Georgia girl was discovered by her mum lying in bed with apparent gunshot to the head, and 3 18-year-old men described as acquaintances have been charged with her murder. Madison Gresswin's mum called 911 early after making the horrific discovery in their apartment. Yeah, America, why are you letting teens kill teens? I mean, literally. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world to this level. At all. And it's just happens all the fucking time. Good news, Roald Dahl's publisher Backtracks will also print unwoke versions of books. The publisher of Roald Dahl books said on Friday it will still publish uncensored versions of the Office Classics children books without scrubbing unwoke language from them after a firestorm erupted over changing the words. Puffin Books partially walked back on its plan to remove insensitive words such as fat, ugly, crazy, and even female from the Office pages. We recognise the importance of keeping choices open to parents. No, you recognise that you've made a complete shitstorm of that, and you need to, well, I don't know, just give your heads a wobble. Everyone's giving their heads a wobble today. The whole world's wobbling their heads. New York City's evil Elmo now tormenting California tourists as a Cookie Monster. A notorious street performer once known for flying into an anti-Semitic rant while dressed as Elmo in Times Square is now terrorising Santa Cruz tourists in a Cookie Monster costume. Adam Sandler, not him, 59, pulled the Sesame Street switcheroo before hustling for tips at the city's scenic wharf, where he has been yelling obscenities and taunting visitors. I think it'd be slightly hilarious of having the Cookie Monster coming up and calling you all the names under the sun, I'll be honest with you. It'd be like one of the coolest things ever. Although not if I had my 5-year-old grandson. It's his birthday today, by the way. Happy birthday. Girl 9 killed in Florida shooting rampage, remembered as a true joy. The 9-year-old Florida girl killed on a shooting rampage was remembered by a devastated family as an excellent student, amazing gymnast and true joy, whose life was cut short by shameless violence. Tiona Major, 9, was killed, and a mum, Brandy Major, was wounded by Keith Moses, 19, as he opened fire in a Spectrum 13 on a Spectrum 13 news crew. The journalists were covering an earlier gun attack. So yeah, that's what I was on about before, wasn't it? So horrendous. But you know, Americans think this is normal. It's so terrifying. Democratic official denounced for complaining of school budget costs for disabled children who weren't aborted. And you're like, what? A local Democrat official in Massachusetts is facing calls to step down after complaining about the cost of special education for children with disabilities who are not aborted. Michael Hugo, the chair of the Farringham Democratic Committee, made the remarks during a City Council meeting when discussing a proclamation about access to abortion and crisis pregnancy. So basically, he's mourning that children who have disabilities cost more money because they have disabilities, so why weren't they aborted before they were born, so that it saves the council money. Florida Democrat drops proposal to ban dogs from sticking their heads out the car window. A Florida Democrat says she won't push for legalization that bans drivers from allowing their dogs to stick their heads out the car windows. After all, yeah, basically, she probably got loads of dog threats. No? Okay, I'll get the call. Protests responding to Massachusetts Democrats' comments about disabled unborn babies announced. A protest is planned in Farringham, Massachusetts in response to Michael Hugo saying disabled babies not aborted become a strain on the school system, and rightly so. I must admit that's one thing I probably would go to, but not in America, because they'd probably get the guns out and shoot them all. Because that'll save even more money then if there's less people to get old. I mean, if people get old, they then put, strain on the health system, don't they? So shoot everyone at 45. Georgia police rescue 17 pit bulls from dogfighting property, and they were kept in heinous conditions. Georgia police showed up at the property of a suspected dogfighting facility and recovered more than a dozen pit bulls who they say were being groomed to fight. What they're going to do with them, I don't know, because they've been groomed for fight. That means they've been trained to be aggressive, and I'm not sure whether you can retrain dogs that have been taken on that route, but hopefully they can have long, peaceful lives somewhere. New York City wasted $60 million worth of COVID supplies that are now expired. City officials acknowledged on Friday that millions of dollars worth of COVID-19 tests and hand sanitizers in order to supply desperate Big Apple during the heights of the pandemic, sat in use for months, have since expired and now be trashed. Yeah, but again, if COVID had proved to be as bad as we first feared when we first heard of it and it first started going around the world killing people, all that stuff would have been used up. And if they hadn't bought it in the first place, then the people would be moaning, why haven't you got hand sanitizer? Why haven't you got COVID tests? Why haven't you got these things? Because people are dying because you haven't got them. Rock and a hard place. You can't criticise someone for overreacting to something which they're doing to save people's lives. I just don't get the criticism that they're getting for it, because if they hadn't got it and it had been, like 5 in 10 people who got COVID died situation, then they would have all been used. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. They bought all that stuff in good faith. So yeah, absolute nonsense. Russian national indicted for supplying US tech to Russia and North Korea. Federal prosecutors on Friday indicted a Russian national for smuggling sensitive US technology to Russia and North Korea in an indictment unsealed in the Eastern District of New York. Prosecutors alleged the company, Radio Tester LCC, had contracts with the FSB, Russia's intelligence and security agency, to repair spectrum analyzers and signal generators. So yeah, he's basically sending over broken stuff to be repaired. It's getting sent back, but while it's being sent back, they're obviously taking it apart and having a look at see how it works. It's quite genius, really. Sneaky way of doing it. Meanwhile, South Park. HBO sues Paramount, claiming it breached $500 million South Park deal. HBO Max on Friday filed a lawsuit against Paramount, alleging the network reneged on its $500 million deal, giving HBO the right to hit show South Park. HBO, through parent company Warner Media Direct, says it signed a deal with Paramount on October 22, 2019, paying $500 million for the exclusive rights to past and future episodes of the popular animated TV series, extending through to June 2025. But of course, Paramount have brought out Paramount Plus, and they're now showing South Park on Paramount Plus. So HBO have gone, whoa, hang on a minute, what are you doing? So yeah, agreed. Yoko Ono leaves New York City after 50 years and moves to a farm purchased with John Lennon. Yoko Ono is the latest to say she's done with New York City. The 90-year-old is choosing to spend the rest of her life in a rural upstate New York farm that she and her late husband, John Lennon, purchased together in 1978, according to the Daily Mail. In the last 50 years, Ono has called the exclusive Dakota building located on West 72nd Street and known as the first ever luxury apartment building in America as her home. But now she's moving out. And I don't blame her, 90-year-old. You don't need the hassle, do you, of living in New York? New York. Pentagon panel recommends bases stop selling guns to troops under 25 to fight suicides. You what? The Department of Defense has received a report from its Suicide Prevention and Response Independent Review Committee calling for stricter gun control on bases where people are being trained to shoot guns. So you're going to put stricter gun controls on people who've joined the army because they may commit suicide, but you're not putting stricter gun controls on the general population who are going around murdering people, including innocent children. America, seriously, get your head out your arse and sort this gun problem out. I mean, St. Louis Sioux bear escapes from enclosure for a second time in a month. An Andorian bear named Ben, who weighs 300 pounds, escaped from his enclosure at the St. Louis Zoo for the second time this month. Officials were able to safely retrieve him. But good on you, bear. We like a bear that's got a escape plan. That's very good. Florida teacher's aide violently attacked after taking student's Nintendo Switch. Florida deputies released surveillance video of a student attacking a high school teacher's aide who took away his Nintendo Switch during class time. I know you can see that picture or not, but that is one angry child. And yeah, again, thank God they didn't have a gun. Because, let's be honest, it doesn't bear thinking about. Anyway, that is Meanwhile in America. And we go immediately to Meanwhile Down Under Sport. G'day sport. What's going on in Australia, mate? Australia. I tell you, mate, Australia is a fantastic place. Yeah, it's amazing. It's got all these things that'll just kill you by just even looking at you. It's amazing. You should go there. You should go. Definitely. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry. I completely digress. I'm also can't find. There we go. Meanwhile in Australia, Medicare's cards to be accepted as a form of ID to vote. Seems the same issue is in America, in Australia, is what it is over here. Where is if you want to go and vote, you have to have photo ID, which I don't agree with at all on multiple levels. But anyway, Australian citizens of voting age are able to enrol to vote and update their enrolment using their Medicare card. This permanent change will assist in getting enrolment as high as possible for the 2023 referendum and future elections. And you're like, 2023 referendum? What referendum? Well, no doubt we'll find out. Australian killed by shark at beach in New Caledonia. An Australian man has been killed by a shark near a crowded beach in New Caledonia. Authorities say the 59-year-old was swimming about 150 metres off the beach in Noumea when the shark attacked him several times. Horrendous. But worse still, looks like testicles in Australia are going to get smaller because Coca-Cola set to hike prices in Australia, an attempt to battle inflationary pressures. Bad news, beverage lovers, the highlights. Coca-Cola is warning of price increases across its soft drink range this year as inflation costs, labour shortages and logistics issues put further financial pressure on the business. So Australian girls will get smaller because obviously we learned earlier that if you drink lots of Coke, you get large girls. Fifth COVID-19 booster available from today. I can't look at that picture because I have a massive allergy to, phobia of needles. Some Australians will be able to get their fifth COVID-19 booster vaccine from today. It comes as ATAGI recommends a booster shot to anybody who has not had the virus or a booster shot in the past 6 months. This is just going to go on forever, isn't it? Booster shots, booster shots. I'm on my 115th booster shot, yay. I'm not my first yet, I'll be honest, but anyway. Police launch operation after Aussie kidnapped in Papua New Guinea. A police operation is underway in Papua New Guinea to rescue an Australian academic and 4 other local researchers who are being held hostage. The group was carrying out fieldwork on the border between Southern Highlands when 20 armed men kidnapped them on Sunday. Hopefully there'll be a good outcome to that, because you don't think of Papua New Guinea being a dangerous place. Qantas announces a $100 million lounge upgrade. And he also says that the price of the tickets will drop. Qantas has announced plans to spend $100 million on lounge upgrades, despite the customers continually complaining of soaring flight prices. CEO Alan Joyce defended the move, claiming that as new planes arrive over the next 3 years, airfares will come down because they're using less fuel, I suppose. But again, we'll wait and see. A 5-week-old baby was sleeping in a bouncer when 2 dogs fatally attacked her in New South Wales. Absolutely horrible thing to happen. I mean, dogs need to be trained, but I think something like that, it just got overexcited maybe, or whatever, I don't know, but again, thoughts, family and friends. Oops. Oh yeah, that'll do. New Zealand hikes rates to over 14-year highs and flags more to come. And the Kiwi rallies, which is their monetary system. So yeah, interest rates are high all over the world, not just in the UK. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a 5-legged toad. An unsuspecting Ipswich resident discovered this funny-looking amphibian in his backyard, and it's got a 5th leg sticking out of its rear end. Either of that, or someone's hiding up there. Tiger shark caught after fatal attack. Numa, New Caledonia. Authorities in New Caledonia believe they've caught the 4-metre tiger shark that fatally mauled an Australian father last weekend. Sydney father of 3, Christopher Davis, was swimming at a popular beach in Numa when he was taken by the shark. And that's the shark there, all deaded and stuff. What's that? That's the wrong one. That's the one I want. Mum fined $362 for picking up toy phone. A New South Wales mother has been fined $362 after being caught by a mobile phone detection camera driving while holding a child's toy phone. Now, the argument is it's not a real phone, so what are you doing? But the other argument is she's obviously, even though you can't see her face, she's obviously looking at that and she's obviously distracted by it, so it's the same as holding a normal phone. So therefore, for me, the fine stands. A service station on Lindsay Street in Campbelltown has gone up in flames. No injuries, but spectacular fire, and it was burning for 24 hours. Aussies to save thousands by switching to electrical appliances as gas prices have overtaken the cost of electricity. Welcome to the world of everyone else in the world. Switching from gas to electric appliances can save Australians thousands a year following the rise in gas prices. Experts say the long-term switch will be financially worth it. Just by swapping out a gas heat pump for an electric one can save up to 60% on power bills. So yeah, like I said before, it's not just Britain's got all these problems, it's everywhere in the world. And that was it for Australia. G'day sport, what's going on? Meanwhile, in India, what's going on in India? I hear you ask. What's going on in India? Excuse me. I hear you ask. Hello? Nope, no one's asking. Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Israel missile strikes residential building in Syria, Damascus, and kills 15. Now, we've kind of mentioned the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in the past, and the religion has got so much to answer for, hasn't it? Religion is one of the worst things that humans have devised, because the majority of conflicts are over religion, certainly in recent times. And this just shows no sign of abating. You know, hundreds, thousands of people have died and will die because there's no way of sorting this that both sides would agree to. There's literally nothing that both sides can agree to. It's been going on for as long as I've been aware of stuff going on, and it's just scary that it will never end, unfortunately. Traps under tons of rubble, a Turkish teen filmed his farewell. Taha found himself alone and trapped under tons of rubble with waves of powerful aftershock shifting the debris, squeezing his space amid the mangled mess of concrete and twisted steel. He took out his cell phone and began recording a final goodbye, hoping it would be discovered after his death. Thankfully, it was discovered before his death, but it just shows the desperation and the tragedy that people are going through all over Turkey and Syria. Just knowing you're going to die, just horrendous. North Korea confirms it's tested its intercontinental ballistic missile and touts fatal nuclear counter attack. Yeah, we love North Korea, but it's interesting that India are noticing as well. NIA cracks down on gangster terror nexus raids underway at 72 locations. The National Investigation Agency, NIA, is carrying out raids at 72 locations across multiple states in a major crackdown on the gangster terror nexus. So again, similar problems we have all over the world. Oh, that was the thing about beef, but I didn't put the first thing up there, so that will make no sense to you. Let's move on. Italy faces fresh drought alert as Venice canals run dry. Again, another picture of the dried up canals in Venice. 8 killed in 2 days in Jharkhand's jumbo attack. The Forest Department has given a compensation of 25,000 to each family of the dead after the completion of the government procedure. Yeah. I don't know yet, Ben. I haven't decided. Depends what I like when I've stopped and have something to eat. Putin cancels decree underpinning Moldova's sovereignty in separatist conflict. The order revoking the 2012 document was published in the Kremlin's website and states that the decision was taken to ensure the national interest of Russia in connection with the profound changes taking place in international relations. So basically, Moldova has had its sovereignty removed. Basically, Russia are claiming it back again. 6.8 magnitude earthquake. It's Turkestan. And Mumbai Best takes 400 leased buses off the road after 3 CNG buses catch fire in 1 month. A bus electric supply and transport undertaking was completely gutted in fire in Surbiton and here earlier this evening. No one was injured in the incident. Basically, the buses in India, the electric buses, are catching fire and burning down the sheds that they're stored in. Netflix slashes prices in some countries to boost subscriptions and shares dropped. Shares fell by nearly 5% as Netflix struggles to survive. This is one of my favourite stories of the week, and I've not seen it reported locally in the UK news. Road outside Russian embassy in London painted in Ukraine flag colours. 4 people, 3 males and 1 female, were arrested on suspicion of criminal damage and obstructing the highway. They remain in custody, the Metropolitan Police said in a statement on Thursday. But yeah, that's outside the Russian embassy. Oh, brilliant. Gotta love it. Crackdown against illegal dairies. Civic authorities seize 1,023 stray cattle, fines 95 dairy owners. The Veterinary Service Department of the MCD has impounded over 1,000 stray cattle in all of its 12 zones after being e-tagged and never been sent to designated places for their upkeep. It won't stop Putin, but it'll piss him off, and that's more important. The China snooping menace. Chinese-made CCTVs across India could well be acting as the eyes and ears of Beijing. Experts raise concerns of national security, but existing laws and awareness are inadequate to deal with the threat. So they're basically saying anything that's got a camera in it and is made in China is sending images of what it can see to China. So if it's webcams, how many middle-aged, overweight men pleasuring themselves will they be watching? None. It's utter nonsense. Sorry, I had to go downstairs to make a coffee. You're all right, Angela. Don't worry. In Indore College, principal set on fire by student over delay in mark sheets succumbs to the injuries. The principal, Mr. Sharma, 54, died of her burn injuries after ex-students allegedly poured petrol on her and set her on fire over the lateness of a sheet that she hadn't marked in time. Wow. 4 people fall into dug-up road in Hyderabad. Locals have demanded that local civic bodies should place barricades appropriately. I can see lots of green there. That to me would be a barricade. That would be enough for me not to fall into a massive hole in a well-lit street. Anyway, maybe they're all truck drivers, because we read, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago that 50-60% of the truck drivers in India have insufficient eyesight. But that's it for India. So we're now on to and finally. I did an and finally. What are we on about the people who fell in the holes, or are we on about the cows? Cows are religious in India, so they have to be looked after properly and correctly. So yeah, not so many funnies this week, but you're pleased to hear there's a C&Bs. We do like a good C&Bs. Now, my grandson's 5th birthday was today, and his sister's 3rd birthday was just before Christmas. Thankfully, my granddaughter's is not a psychopath. My niece turned 3 today. She asked for a Lion King cake, but specifically the moment where Mufasa dies, because everyone will be too sad to eat the cake, and it will all be for me. That's genius. Psychopathic, but it's genius. You've got to admit, that is one clever girl. Now this one, read the thing that comes up. Check for cat arm before closing, and then look near the blue bag in the fridge to the left. And it's not an arm, it's a leg, but you know, we'll let him off. That is hilarious. It's a cat trying to nick something from the fridge. I mean, it's not put it through, because even it nicked anything. But yeah, you shut that door and you've got a 3-legged cat. Or a 3-armed cat, in that case, obviously. I don't know, I just don't know. At least there's a warning sign. No caption needed. At all. Absolutely no caption needed. Other than, don't take a fucking photograph, just get me out of here. Geologist finds rare formation inside rock that looks exactly like the Cookie Monster on Sesame Street. And they know it is because it shouts profanity at them. I think that's brilliant as well. That is brilliant. Harry and Meghan were rumoured to be suing South Park over its worldwide privacy tour episode. But now Harry and Meghan have said they're probably not going to sue. Mainly because they know that it's just going to make them look even more pathetic and stupid than they already do. A Turkish firefighter adopts the cat he saved from under the rubble after Turkey earthquakes. This is a good, feel-good story. A cat was saved from under the rubble in Turkey and now refuses to leave its rescuer's side. Oh, it's nice. That's nice. But genuinely, that's nice. And then finally, we haven't had any cockums, so here we go. A Manchester man draws penises around potholes so the city will fix them. And he's referred to it as a Banksy, but with a letter change, which I think is genius. It's so good, it's brilliant. I mean, it's not new news, don't get me wrong. I've only found this week. It was actually in 2015 that this happened, but still, I didn't know about it at the time, and I live in Manchester. But yeah, absolute genius. The guy is a genius. There's no other word for it. No other word for it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. 2 hours. I remember when these programs used to last 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And now we're doing 2 hours and 35 minutes. Unscripted, as you can tell. Unrehearsed, as you can tell. And unbroken. No commercial breaks, no nothing. So yeah, like I don't know what to say anymore. It's just like it's embarrassing. So yeah, that's your lot. So we've had 46 views, average of 13 minutes. We've got 8 viewers on at the minute. We've got 1 like. Sure up, Harry. Yeah, exactly. Very quiet in the chat room. So Angela O'Kane, DC number 9. Offline Scotsman was in, missed him. Marty Hopkirk was in as well. Ben and Angela. Everyone else was silent today, which is fine. You don't have to talk if you don't want, but it's always nice to have some input, and then we can continue talking about it, because that's what we're here for, to talk about stuff in it. Anyway, that is your lot. So thank you very much for watching. Indeed, you still are. If you enjoyed the program, episode, whatever you want to call it, then let people know, and they can maybe watch next week, and maybe you can discuss it with your friends or relatives, either in the chat room here or privately on your own mobile devices. Why not? Anyway, thank you for watching again. It's been entertaining. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. And I will see you all again at some point in the future, innit? Well, I'll be here next week to do another What a Week That Was. Or should I say, I'll be here next week to see what a week that was. Until then, take care. Look after yourselves.